Light the candle, Tiger!
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and £1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Hi there, a very warm welcome to the Racing Post Golf Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington, and joining me as always, Steve Palmer and Paddy Power's Ian McLaughlin to look back on last week, but more importantly look ahead to this week and hopefully mark your card with a few juicy winners. We've got some really good tournaments. Well, one really good tournament, one pretty crap one, but the really good tournament is the Champions tournament in Shanghai. And there's a star-studded field for that. Less so the Sanderson Farms Championship, but a winner is a winner, so hopefully the lads are absolutely brimming with confidence. We'll start off though by looking back on last week, and it was a week when Steve clicked back into gear. Here I was last week doing the postcast and thinking that Sergio Garcia was a pathetic price at 4-1, but Steve put me right in no uncertain terms. Steve, it was a good old week, wasn't it? You got back on track, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was a good win. Only I didn't mess about with the $4,000 stake at 5-1, and I should have won a lot more than I did. Actually, I got a bit too aggressive on the.
You always say that, don't you? But
no, but the doubles, I get too aggressive on chasing the doubles. You know, I'm obsessed with the absolute face bidder. So I ended up having an in-running double as well as my pre-tournament doubles, and unfortunately, Cameron Smith, he finished a shot shy. That's a tough one to get out. Shot shy of the top 5. I mean, if he had finished in the top 5, that would have been another 10 bags. But
it's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah, he finished 7th. I mean, very, very negative putting performance from Cameron Smith. But no, I obviously mustn't grumble after that week.
How was it for you, Ian? Because obviously Sergio did the business in Valderrama, and then I guess Brooks Koepka was pretty popular over in wherever it was, the CJ Cup. Where was it? Malaysia? Korea. That's it.
Korea, yeah.
A week for the punters?
It was a week for the punters, yeah. In terms of the outright market for CJ Cup, Koepka wasn't too bad. Obviously, Steve's loyal followers got stuck in at the 4-1, so that was a poor enough result. And there obviously would have been a few cross multis, like I think Brooks was 10-1, Garcia was 4-1. So it was an easy to find each way double for the week. So yeah, it was a punter's week for sure.
How was it for you, Ian? Bad one?
It was okay. I didn't get too heavily involved. I was ill all weekend, so there was no in-play bets or anything like that. So it was probably blessing in disguise. Ready to go this week though.
Good, well done. Good to hear you're back. Let's go through some questions then. First of all, DJ McGarry. Brilliant postcast, guys, and kudos to Steve Palmer on digging out another winner. Is 15-8 Francesco Molinari for a top 10 finish this week good value? Now, Steve, obviously, you fancied him at Walton Heath, but then it emerged during the tournament that he was running on fumes, wasn't he? He took last week off. Do you think he can refine the magic that's made him pretty much the player of the year, or would you be avoiding him like the plague this week?
Well, it's a fantastic question. I mean, on paper, 15-8 looks massive for a top 10, doesn't it? Because on his achievements this year, the Wentworth win, maiden US Tour win, Open victory, Ryder Cup maximum man. He's bursting with self-belief, but it is the crucial element of the bet is how motivated he is. If he's fully focused and has freshened up, then it is a big price, because he won this tournament in 2010 on the same course. When obviously he was nowhere near as confident as he is now. So I would not want to put the reader off that price. But
is there anything in his Twitter feed that suggests he's got his spring back in his step?
No, nothing in particular, no. But 15-8 does sound fair for a top 10, because this field is not as deep as a WGC field should be. There's 11 members of the world's top 30 are absent. So it's got WGC status, but there's a lot of top players missing. I mean, I can read out the list of absentees if you like.
No, we'll get there. But we're doing questions first, and then we'll have a little break, and then that's all right, don't worry. Andy Black comes up with a really good question, which you can both have a crack at. If you could manage one player on either tour, who would it be, and what would you advise them? Ian, that's a good question. So you're going to put yourself in the Chubby Chandler role, or Butch Harmon. Think of a player that you'd like to take under your wing, and what would you do to turn them into a champ, like they did with Francesco Molinari this year, indeed?
I'd go the easy route. I'd probably take Brooks Koepka, advise him to play as many big money tournaments as he could, and would take 50% of the profits off him.
That's not a bad shout. Do you think he'll be the man next year? Do you have a good year next year, Ian?
Well, I think he's turned into just the big event player. Like, obviously he's 5 PGA Tours now, and 3 of them have been major, so he just seems the man for the big occasion. Yeah, so if I was to pick one player for next year in terms of really. He's obviously world number one now. He's not unfounded, but I think he could kick on and maybe get a couple more next year for sure.
Steve, is there anyone you think you could turn from an also-ran into a champ?
Well, Cup could be the dream ticket to manage. He's like a robot, and you press a button and off he goes. He doesn't say anything. He rarely does anything controversial apart from bash these 350-yard drives at poor ladies in the crowd there.
Well, he must have had a fight with Dustin Johnson in the Ryder Cup. So
good question. Good question. I would imagine that was DJ that started that one, but I don't know the details. But I'd love to manage Tiger Woods. I mean, you know my love for Tiger Woods. I think I could help Tiger Woods. I mean, we could have some mutual counselling sessions over our sex addictions. We could help each other through that, and then we could find a way of getting him back to world number one. I wouldn't try and change him. I'd just be trying to sort of turn him into the animal that he used to be.
Excellent. Okay. Talking of Tiger, David Jackson wants to know, have you started chipping away at him for the 2019 Open?
Well, that's a good question. No, I hope to be retired by then. I probably won't be betting by the 2019 Open. I'll be in Florida.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Danny Howland says, who do you think will be the next Scandinavian to win a major? Olsen, Lucas or Noren? I presume Lucas is Beauregard. Ian, you can have a crack at that one.
I'd probably go with Lucas Bjerregaard. Noren's kind of pigeonholed into one major championship, which is probably the Open. Olsen's probably a little bit too wild off the tee to really contend in the bigger tournaments. I think Bjerregaard has potential to be of those three to be a major champion, yeah.
Okay, Steve, by the way, going back to the 2019 Open, have you sorted your accommodation out? Because do you remember Rod Studd went to, is it Portrush next year?
Yeah.
He went there for a holiday and said that the accommodation situation is already a problem. If you look at Airbnb, they're asking astronomical prices. So what are you going to do? Can you go and stay at Ian's?
No. I think it may well be an open off, unfortunately, due to the lack of options. So I'll have to work from home, I think.
Oh, fair enough. That's a shame. We miss your stuff. We'd miss your stuff, but it would be understandable. Are you going to go next year, Ian?
I probably will go. Yeah, I know Portrush would be pricey.
To that or not?
Well, it's a long enough commute now. It'll be about 3 hours, but I have relatives up in about an hour away from the course as well, so we could sort something out. Like, it's not out of the realms of possibility to get somewhere from an hour away that's going to be probably half the price of Portrush and easy to travel to.
Sorted. You can stay at the McLaughlin's.
Yeah. Stay at McLaughlin's grandma, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Nice week.
Fran says, how did Steve pass his time on Monday morning when there was no coverage of the finish on Sky and Shane Lowry went as low as 3.5 in running when one shot behind with 4 holes to play? It was a tough morning.
It was a very tough morning, yeah. It was an excruciating morning because on Monday mornings I have to get the little one off to nursery as well. It starts at 9 o'clock, so she always has her little tantrums before going to nursery. And I was obviously following the leaderboard at the same time. And then Larry got within one, and being unable to watch the coverage. I mean, I don't know how Ian McLaughlin was trading the tournament with no access to the. Did you have any access to the pitches?
Oh, they always get a feed. No.
No, it was the Sky had said that the world, they obviously work off a world feed, is what we work off as well, and their trucks had gone Sunday night to make their way to China, so they actually had no one had any pictures of Monday, which was bizarre.
Incredible,
really. Pathetic, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely pathetic. Oh, well, you got it done in the end. So there was a few tantrums Monday morning, was there? But
tantrums from the pair of us. But, fortunately, he got clear again, and it was quite relaxing at the finish. But I don't like not being able to watch the final round of tournaments. You invest so much during the week, don't you? You start your whole week's built around that finish, really, and then it was taken away from us. So they should have delayed the trucks to China. I'm sure Rupert Murdoch could have afforded to keep them all there for a little bit longer and rearrange the flights. It's only down the road, isn't it? Spain to China.
Quite. Steve, do you remember Bully, our old mate Bully, who we used to work with?
Bully, yeah.
He lives in Australia now, and he's tweeted in. He says, hey, lads, some good Aussie events coming up this month. Are you looking forward to those? That's controversial. And should the Australian Open be a major after the streaming farce of the USPGA? Would you mind, lads, if the Australian Open was a major?
I'm a traditionalist. I don't like change. I think you can end up having loads of majors. Like the women's tend to add majors, don't they? The seniors have about 1 million majors. I don't want to go down that route of there being loads of majors. So no, I'm sorry, Bully. I don't want that as a major. And I'm not particularly looking forward to the Australian events. I'm sorry, because Adam Scott's pulling out, and I think the field to be very weak. But I'll tell you what, I'll end on a positive note for the Down Under brigade. They got some fantastic young golfers coming through, haven't they? I mean, the Australian golf is in an amazing place at the moment, and I think that we'll get onto the Sanderson Farms Championship, but I think the Australians are going to be swarming over the leaderboard in the Sanderson Farms.
Did you enjoy working with Bully?
Yes, he was a very nice lad, wasn't he? I suspect he
yeah.
still is a very nice lad.
Yeah.
Unless he's turned into an Australian.
Declan O'Sullivan says, could the lads recommend a publication or website that goes through the European and PGA players and details which course suit the various players in a similar fashion to Keith Elliott's annual Bible used to? Well, I'd suggest the Racing Post, but I would say that. Any other info sources, Ian, that you like that Declan might be able to get some info on?
Well, one end of year one is from a Twitter feed called Hunt Golf Analytics, and he devises a kind of an ebook at the end of the year. It's a pro golf synopsis, it's called. It's basically the whole previous year of stats and where course suitability is, what players should be suited here, and all that sort of stuff. And I think it's $10 at the end. It comes out maybe end of November, start of December. So basically, just download it, pay $10, and that's you for the next year in terms of your stats going back to the previous year. So I'd recommend that highly. Yeah.
There's actually talk of us doing a golf annual next year. Fancy that, Steve? It'd be quite good fun, wouldn't it? Wilco suggested that. I think it's a very good idea.
Is he? Wilco can write that then.
You don't fancy it, no?
I got bigger fish to fry.
Brian Leask says, hi, could you ask Ian why Rose is bigger odds than McIlroy? Defending champ, world number one, played well as host at Walton Heath and scored better at the Ryder Cup. Surely the guys must fancy Rose in a match bet against McIlroy. Ian, what have you got to say?
Well, compiling it, that was our two biggest positions of the week, really. I'll get to McIlroy. Obviously made him a lot shorter than the market. I think if you look through the market, we're kind of flipped to what the market is. We're 8-1 Rory, 9-1 Rose. We're looking to take on Rose this week. It's been a long year. It was quite an anomaly last year for him to win the tournament. He was 6 behind Johnson. The wind blew an absolute gale. He got up over the line. I wouldn't take that as massive course form. I'll get to McIlroy's course form and how suitability of the course. So yeah, we're taking a strong position in favour of Rory this week and a strong position against Rose.
Steve, Rose or McIlroy for you this week?
McIlroy plays the course well, and Rose looked knackered at Walton Heath, and I can't see him being particularly up for this one.
Okay. NFL Bettor says, would you like to see golf markets introducing an element of handicap betting for certain tournaments? It used to happen, didn't it? It was Surrey Sports, wasn't it, Steve? Do you remember the old...
That's right, yeah. I think for tournaments like last week's one, where you really fancy the favourite to destroy the field, then you would be quite interested in handicap betting, wouldn't you? But I don't think I'd look at it on a regular basis. It's hard enough to get them over the line winning, let alone by a certain amount of shots. Would
you do a handicap, Ian? Maybe a limited field, just quote 24 runners or something?
Yes, the desire was there, like from punters to do it. We'd probably put it up for sure. Like we have so many markets these days, it will just be another one to add. It wouldn't be too much of an effort, I would have thought.
Okay. Michael Verity says, does Steve do his own tissue prices for the field each week, or rely mainly on feel and intuition for a price being too big and therefore a bet?
Well, I don't need to waste time on players who I think have got no chance. I mean, that's the advantage I have over the bookmakers. The bookmakers have to pore over every player to devise a play. You know, anyone that I can rule out of the outright market, I don't need to worry about. So I create my short list. I go through the X Factor process that I've mentioned before, and then when I've got them down to a certain amount of players, then I'll put a price that I'm prepared to accept next to their names. And then I'll look at the actual prices. So and then rule out the players that don't. If they're a shorter price than I'm prepared to accept, I'll rule them out.
Okay, and one more. Simon says, is there ever a scenario where Steve would hedge an outright bet, or Ian? Though I suspect he's not quite as stubborn as Steve. Ian, what's your attitude towards laying off?
I would tend to do it on certain occasions. If I've backed a player who I'm probably a little bit worried about their ability to close, I'll probably put a position in there to lay out. But if I'm back in the bigger tournaments and I'm back in the likes of a Tiger or a McIlroy or Jordan Spieth, I'd be confident enough to go, right, he's good enough to close it out, so I won't really put a position in. Say if I was back in a lesser event, the player hadn't won before, I might stick a position in there to lay off at some point and get some sort of money back before the remainder of the tournament. And
Steve, it's to the death Andy Sinton for you, isn't it? To quote Graham Taylor.
I never back players that I don't think can finish it off. So I wouldn't get in that position that Ian would find himself in. I will only have bets that I think will go all the way. It's only whether they pick up some injury or illness during the event that I'd ever consider it, I think.
But how about a scenario where you go for it massively next year, 2019 Open, you've got Woods to win £1 million. And he's trading at 102. He's 4 shots clear with 4 to play, and you can get out and you can guarantee yourself. Well, you can pretty much guarantee yourself the full $1 million or 900 grand. Surely, then, Steve.
Well, at that stage, I'm absolutely convinced he's going to win. Aren't I? If Tiger was 4 clear with 4 to play, I would fully expect him to win. I wouldn't want to, lose the 100 grand or whatever you're talking about.
If that ever happens, I'm going to drive down your house and force you to hit that button. I just couldn't bear the thought of it all going wrong, Steve.
No, and the trouble I have, I always determine pre-event how much I want to win. So if I wanted to win £1 million, I would have staked exactly to win £1 million. So I wouldn't want to take anything out of it. I always have a target in mind beforehand. There's no room to manoeuvre.
Well, it stood you in good stead last week, didn't it? You had the chance to get out with Sergio, and you hung on in there, didn't you?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, lads, thank you very much indeed. We will start our week's previews with the WGC-HSBC Champions tournament next.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and £1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Be the right club today.
Okay, Steve, before we get stuck into this tournament, can you just set the scene for us over the next few weeks, what's happening? Is it the race to Dubai, denouement, basically? What have we got coming up?
We've got the European Tour final series, haven't we? So, we've got a little WGC event now, and then we'll move into that. We're at Sheshan International this week, which is quite a tricky one to get out, and it's been used for every HSBC apart from 2012. Mission Hills took over for a year, so it started in 2005. Every year apart from 2012 is what punters need to look at in terms of course form.
Okay, and then we go to Turkey and then Dubai, is that right?
We got 3, haven't we? Was it where are we going? I think the Nedbank's part of it this year, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Ian?
Yeah. 4 more to go, yeah.
Oh,
4 more to go.
You just take it week by week, Steve.
This is it, yeah. This is the way to move, yeah.
Okay, Ian, over to you for the latest betting on the HSBC Champions.
Yes, so 7 places this week in the HSBC. Dustin Johnson heads are betting at 15-2, Brooks Koepka 8-1, Rory McIlroy 8-1, Justin Rose 9-1, Jason Day 16-1, Hideki Matsuyama 18-1, Tommy Fleetwood 18-1, John Ram 18-1, and 20-1 bar.
Blimey, Steve, you say it's not a deep field. Well, I suppose it's not a deep field, but at the top end there's some stars, isn't there?
This is it, yeah. This is it. But there's 11 of the top 30 missing. Justin Thomas, missing. Bryson DeChambeau, missing. I won't go through 11 of them. No. Ricky Fowler, Jordan Spieth, Tiger Woods, Bubba Watson, Mark Leishman, Webb Simpson, Phil Mickelson, Sergio Garcia and Henrik Stenson. I mean,
that's pretty poor, isn't it? Why aren't they all going for it?
It's late in the year, it's a long way to go, and it's been a very busy summer. FedEx Cup playoffs, Ryder Cup. These guys are multi-millionaires. You dangle £1 million check at them and they're not interested if it involves getting on a plane for 24 hours, whatever it is. It's just disinterest.
Okay, right then, Steve, take us through your main tip. Who are you going for and why?
Well, I'm backing 4 players for this who are highly motivated. You talk about the players that can't be bothered. The 4 players I've backed have all got a point to prove, and they're all well suited to the course. And my number one choice is Xander Schauffele. Schauffele was overlooked for a Ryder Cup wildcard spot. Very harsh considering finished second in the Players' Championship this year, finished second in the Open Championship this year. Schauffele has proven he's got big-time temperament. Won the Tour Championship last year, really, really gutsy fashion, repelled some quality players at Eastlake. So I think Schauffele still not getting the respect he deserves by bookmakers. He should be prominent in the betting at all times. I mean, Furyk disrespected Schauffele in many ways last month, and bookmakers are disrespecting him now because he's very deep in the betting. This is the world number 19. He's young, he's progressive, he's well suited to Sheshan. This is a ball striking test. And he's quickly shown he can perform in Asia. He finished 3rd in the Sim Classic last year, 2nd in the Dunlop Phoenix Open. He's had a run in the HSBC before, finished mid-division last year, so I expect him to come on massively for that run. And he's well acclimatised. Finished with a 65 in the CJ Cup last week. I think he might be peaking for this week. OK,
we'll get your other tips in a moment. But first of all, Ian, take us through your number 1 selection.
Number 1 this week was mentioned. It's Rory McIlroy. Has been in excellent form since the end of May. Go through his worldwide results from the PGA Championship at Wentworth. 2nd, 8th, miscut, 12th, 28th, 2nd, 6th, 50th, 12th, 5th, 7th. That's 7th at the Tour Championships. I mark up slightly. He played flawless golf for 3 days, but seemed to get caught up in the Tiger hype on the final day. He was paired with him, started to go full force at every tee shot and had no real control of his golf ball. Between the Tour Championship this week, he's only played the Ryder Cup, so he'll be coming into the week very fresh. I've mentioned his fantastic record of Sheshan. In 6 attempts, he has form figures of 4, 5, 4, 6, 11, 4. Obviously loves the setup here. At 10-1, he was my bet of the week.
And what does the course suit him? What kind of track is this? Is it a slugger's paradise, Ian?
It's a bit of a combination of that, and then it's a ball, as Steve mentioned, it's a ball striker's haven, and there's no better practitioner than McIlroy. The wind's not set to get up too high this week. That would be my only concern. 2-back McIlroy if there was a consistent wind all week. It looks to be quite calm, which is surprising around this course, and that should suit McIlroy down to the ground.
Ian, just a quick one on McIlroy. He's become a player that, he looked so good, he was so brilliant when he was young. Is there a kind of feeling that he'll let you down a little bit these days? I don't know, he doesn't get it done as much as he used to, does he?
No, I would say when he first came on the scene, and maybe for the first 3 or 4 years of his career, the competitiveness of the front of the world golf wasn't that competitive. Compared it to now, from about 20th to the first in the world rankings, anyone can win in a given week. So if guys have a spell of 12 to 18 months going out of not winning, it's probably more so that their rivals have gotten better. Look at the likes of Spieth. Spieth had a 12 to 18 month stretch after his great 2015, and he's slowly coming back. I think everyone's just getting a lot better and is getting a lot more close to the top, that guys aren't going to have these years when they go 4 or 5 wins every year. So I think he's still the player that he was, and obviously I like him this week, so I think he gets back in the winners enclosure.
Righty-ho. Steve, you're eschewing all the players at the front of the list, don't you? Schauffele's your main tip. Who are the other 3?
Rafa Cabrera Bello is my next best. Won 3 times on the European Tour, one of which came in Asia. And slowly but surely over the last few years, he's become a world-class performer. I mean, he's got a US Tour card in his pocket through producing the goods in elite events like this one. He was 3rd in the WGC Match Play in 2016. He was 3rd in the WGC Mexico Championship last year. I think he's capable of winning a WGC. And this is a great opportunity. He's very comfortable in China. He's finished 2nd in the Hong Kong Open the last 2 years. He was 5th in this tournament last year. Like Schauffele, Ryder Cup snub for Cabrera Bello. He was brilliant in the 2016 Ryder Cup, but didn't get his place in the side. So he's got that little extra layer of motivation, and it showed last week. He was off the pace early in the CJ Cup, but dug deep. Must have found something on the range. Outscored everyone over the weekend, including Brooks Koepka. In the CJ Cup, closed with a pair of 65s and finished 3rd. So Cabrera Bello is the next best, and then I've got 2 more, 4 against the field. They're all nice each-way prices. Thomas Pieters, completely dismissed by the layers this week, but Thomas Pieters' A game is capable of winning majors, let alone a WGC like this one, where 11 members of the world's top 30 are absent, as discussed. Peters came close to a Ryder Cup wildcard as well. He really picked up his form in the last 4 months, just missed out. He's finished 6th in the USPGA. He got himself in contention in the USPGA in the middle of August. I mean, that field is much better than this one. And, Sheshan plays to Peters' strengths. And the final one, Adam Scott. Adam Scott, my final selection, as we were discussing with Bully's question earlier on. Scott has changed his schedule this year. He usually plays the Australian Open and the Australian PGA, but he's ditched the Australasian Tour. He wants to focus on the US Tour. He's determined to get back into the elite. It won't be long before he turns 40. He's running out of time. This is a former world number 1 ready to re-establish himself and start eating from the top table again. And final round 63 in the CJ Cup last week. I mean, what a perfect warm-up. Finished 10th. He's putting well again. I mean, it was vintage Adam Scott in the USPGA. He finished 3rd in the USPGA in August and looked right back to his best. And he's got this could be his last event of the year. So Adam Scott got total focus on this one.
40 already. They grow up so quickly, don't they?
Yeah. He's 38 at the moment. 40 in 21 months' time to be exact. But he really is looking to get back. Start winning US Tour events again and winning majors again. I like what I'm hearing from Adam Scott, and the putter. The putting has improved. He's gone back to a longer putter. I mean, a lot of people think it's perhaps the wrong side of the anchoring ban rule book. He's sort of playing fine margins, or whether it's anchored or not. But who cares? They're letting him do it. And as punters, we don't need to get involved, get bogged down in all that nonsense. If Adam Scott's putting well, he is a really top player.
Lovely stuff. Ian, your main tip is Rory McIlroy, as you've already told us. Who else are you going to put in?
The next best and 2 outsiders. The next best is Lucas Bjerregaard. Really coming into his own this season, is turning into a top player. Has risen from 188 in the world to 53rd. Steve mentioned the motivation factor this week. He's going to be very determined to get into that top 50 in the world by the end of the year, as this opens up the golfing world for him, including a start at Augusta next year. He's been in sparkling form in the European Tour this season. Notable finishes in his last 16 starts: 6th, 5th, 3rd, 5th, 9th, 6th, 2nd, win and 9th. Excellent form. First time playing at Shayshan, but has a solid record in events he's played in China. He's played 11 times. He's finished in the top 15, 7 of those tournaments, including 4 top 5s. I think he's one of the more unexposed runners in the field this week, and I really like him at 80-1. 2 outsiders. The first one is Hao Tong Li, local player who's really starting to find his form at the right time of the season. Very solid 2018. His 2 best finishes have come in his last 2 outings, 5th at the Alfred Dunhill and 9th at the British Masters. He's played 5 times at Shayshan. Not the greatest record, but was 7th in 2015, which shows he can play the course quite well. He has 5 previous wins in China, hosts of top 10 finishes. The hometown support this week will help. He should go well around the 70-1 mark. And the last one is CT Pan, who slowly developed into a very competent player in the PGA Tour. Opened with a 76 to CJ Cup last week, but fought back to finish 23rd, including a final round 66. Has had 4 rounds of 68 or better in his last 8, so just needs to put 4 of them together to contend. Was second at the Wyndham and 4th at the Dell Technology 6 weeks ago. 2 of his best performances this season. 100-1, he looked as solid each way played to me this week.
OK, chaps, out of the runners at the front of the market, who's the one you like the least? Steve?
Good question. I couldn't pull the trigger on any of them. I really didn't get excited by any of them. So I do think this is a week to go deeper into the betting. The one I like the least, Justin Rose.
OK, fair enough. That's like the least as in their chances this week, not as a person.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You couldn't dislike Justin Rose. Any ones that you'd be keen to oppose at the front of the market there? I think it's Rose for you as well, isn't it? You were saying you don't fancy him particularly, and yeah?
Yeah, Rose was the big position we're taking this week, yeah.
OK, lads, thank you very much. Let's do the Sanderson Farms Championship next.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and £1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Oh, baby.
OK, welcome back, Bruce Millington, Steve Palmer and Ian McLaughlin. We are looking ahead to the event taking place in America this week. It's the Sanderson Farms Championship at the Country Club of Jackson in Mississippi. Not a very strong field, it must be said, as you will gather when Ian reads out Paddy Power's latest betting.
Yes, 7 places as well in the Sanderson Farms this week. 3 co-favourites: Dylan Fratelli 20-1, Patrick Rogers 20-1, Sung Jae Im at 20-1, Aaron Badley 22-1, Lucas Glover 25-1, Ryan Armour 25-1, Bill Haas 25-1 and 28-1 bar.
Not many big names. Hopefully there'll be a big price winner though. Ian, you go first. Who's your main fancy this week?
Main fancy was actually mentioned there, and it's Aaron Badley. Have been in poor form this year up until the end of July. Since then he's played 8 events but 1 missed cut and 6 top 25 finishes. In that span it included an excellent 4th place at the Safeway Open. At the Safeway he ranked 1st in strokes gained approach and 1st in strokes gained tee to green in the field. Surprising figures considering surprising look at the figures, he was way down the field in strokes gained putting. His usual modus operandi is sketchy ball striking mixed with excellent putting stats. This indicates to me that he's close to getting back in the winner's enclosure. 2 appearances at Jackson Country Club, 4th in 2015 and 30th last year after a poor weekend. He hasn't really been missed in the market, but I still think he's a player in the 25-1 mark.
OK, Steve, your main fancy is?
My main fancy is another Australian, but I must mention Aaron Badley as well. I do like him. He Monday qualified for that Safeway Open with a 65, so I think he's found something. I think he's a class act in a weak field. So it's all about the Aussies this week. It's Aussie, oi, oi, oi. Cameron Davis is a young Aussie. You may not have heard of him, Bruce. He's a 23-year-old Aussie. I think he's going places. He's won prestigious titles at every stage of his career. He won the Australian Amateur in 2015. He won the Australian Open in 2017, and then he won a Web.com tour event in May. And that web win was in Nashville Open in Tennessee, which is across the border from Mississippi. So he may find conditions to his liking at Jackson Country Club. He finished his Web.com tour campaign very strongly. Finished 3rd in the Tour Championship, their curtain closer. And he's made a solid start to the US Tour. He finished 17th in the Safeway Open, closing with a 68. So, yeah, I like the future for Cameron Davis, and I think he could get an early win on the board in very weak field this week. OK, and Ian, who else are you going to be putting up?
Yeah, so much like the HSBC, of a next best and 2 outsiders. The next best is Hunter Mahan, another player who's slowly coming back to form. Contended for a long way at the Safeway Open before a lacklustre Sunday, dropping to 17th place. In that event, he ranked 9th in strokes gained approach and 8th in strokes gained tee to green. a better week on the greens and he would have had a top 5 finish at least. He's had 1 appearance at Jackson Country Club in 2017, finishing 18th. I liked him at 50-1. First outsider is Doug Gim, US amateur champion from last year. Was also top amateur at the Masters in April. Has been plying his trade on both tours. Highlights in the PGA Tour with 23rd and 28th place finishes at the Barracuda Championship and the Wyndham Championship. Highlight of his Euro Tour stint was an 8th place finish at the European Masters at Cronk-sur-Sierre. Somewhat similar characteristics to what is needed at Jackson Country Club. Strong iron play and good putting. He looked a solid each way play at 80-1. And the second outsider is Julien Etulain, Argentine player, who caught my eye with a 14th place finish at the Safeway. His first official event as a PGA Tour member. Ranked highly in the key stats that week that are needed this week at Jackson Country Club. Was a winner last year in the web.com. Talented player who I think can go well at 200-1.
I can't find him. What's he called? Julian what?
Etulain.
How do you spell the surname?
Etulain.
Julien Etulain. Okay. The Sanderson Farms, who sponsor this event, are one of the biggest suppliers of chickens in America. They produce 9.3 million chickens a week. Incredible.
Blimey.
So,
Steve, they do it in a nice way. My wife always gets angry if I come back from the supermarket without free-range eggs. They've got to be free-range.
I would think 9.3 million free-range chickens. You need to own pretty much the whole of America for that, wouldn't you?
Oh, dear.
Hang on, I've got a gag coming up and the timing's crucial. So, with that in mind, Steve, you've put up Cameron Davis. Will you be putting all your eggs in that basket? Thank you.
No, I won't.
I know you won't because I can
talk
see
about
the
this
page.
tournament
You've tipped 3 other people.
If they're not looking after their chickens, that's it. The Sanderson Farms is dead to me. I don't want to talk about it.
Hopefully they won't.
If forced, I will say Bill Haas.
Says the man who, when you first came to live in London to work for the Racing Post as a fresh-faced 21-year-old, basically lived on KFC for the entire time.
This is it. No, I've learnt the error of my ways. I mean, I wake up every morning and still think about what I wrote about that part with the orcas in. Do you remember when I described that trip to Tenerife as the best day of my life, where I saw the orcas jumping around? I had no idea how sad they are. I feel really bad about writing something positive about the orcas. They shouldn't be in the blooming swimming pool, should they? They should be out in the ocean. Yeah, we've gone off on a bit of a tangent here.
Yes,
but no,
I've thinking bollocks to all that. Who do you fancy, Steve?
Well, Bill Haas.
Okay.
Bill Haas is my next best. I mean, you're probably thinking, what's Bill Haas doing in the Sanderson Farms Championship?
Well, to be honest, when I had a little look myself, my eye was drawn to Bill Haas because I like backing him because he's a winning machine. Well, comparative winning machine, isn't he?
You've got every right to be looking. I mean, he's got the biggest bank balance of anyone in that field. He's a 2011 FedEx Cup champion. You know, it's not that long ago that he was winning at East Lake and scooping $10 million. I mean, his career has gone not horribly wrong. He's just gone off track this year. I mean, he's had a hellish year. He's in a fatal car accident in February that saw his friend die. I don't know if you remember that in February. He was in a Ferrari and his friend died and he sustained some injuries too. And understandably, that's taken him time to recover from. But very encouraging Safeway Open. Like Aaron Badley, the Safeway Open was a real eye-opener for Bill Haas fans because he finished 10th there, putted really well. And, Haas is different gravy to most of this field. So, yeah, he's the next best. And he won this tournament in 2010, must add that. He won this tournament in 2010. That was at a different Mississippi course. But, so he's proven in this tournament.
OK, who else?
And then 3 more. I mean, this is a wide-open event. There's no point in being bullish about this. I want to go with 5. Aaron Badley, as discussed. And then another Aussie, Curtis Luck. I think Curtis Luck, like Cameron Davis, this is another young Wizard of Oz that's bursting with potential. Luck won the US Amateur Championship in 2016. He's just been promoted from the Web.com Tour. He finished the season really strongly. I think he's good enough to win on the US Tour quite soon. And then Nick Taylor is my final selection. Nick Taylor won this in 2014 at this course. He's finished 20th and 23rd in 2 subsequent visits. Doesn't sound that great, but he was in terrible form, really, really poor form prior to them. So it doesn't matter what sort of form he's in. Nick Taylor is a factor at the Country Club of Jackson. And he's got his tail up because it looked like he was going to lose his US Tour card, and then he salvaged it with the very last round of the season, finished 8th in the Wyndham. So, everything, he's bursting with positivity is Nick Taylor. OK,
be careful if you're backing Steve's selections in the betting shop. Don't get them confused, or you might end up backing Nick Luck by mistake. That wouldn't work. Right then, let's summarise what the lads fancy, because I know that you're listening, hopefully, and scribbling them all down, but I'm going to make it nice and easy for you. I'm going to round them all up. The HSBC Champions tournament this week. Steve Palmer's main tip is Xander Schauffele, but he also likes Cabrera Bello, Thomas Peters and Adam Scott, whereas Ian McLaughlin goes for Rory McIlroy as his main bet. Lucas Beauregard. It wouldn't be a postcast without one of the lads tipping Lucas Beauregard. He also likes HT Lee and CT Pan. Over in America at the Sanderson Farms, Steve goes for Curtis Davies' main tip, augmenting with Bill Haas, Aaron Baddeley, Curtis Luck and Nick Taylor. And Ian's main tip in America is Aaron Baddeley. He also goes for Hunter Mahn, Doug Gim and Julien Etoulan. I hope that's all nice and clear, and I hope at least one of them brings home the bacon for you. Okay, lads, what's the plans for the week? Ian, are you going to get out and wave some sticks now you're better again?
I am. It's actually my brother's stag do in Edinburgh this weekend. So we've
lovely.
planned so we have a bit of golf Friday morning, then a lot of drinking, I would say, for the next 2 days after that.
Have you been to Edinburgh before?
I passed through it actually going to the Open in July, so that was my first stint in there. I had a night in Edinburgh, so yeah, it seems like a lovely spot. And it should be a good weekend for sure.
Extraordinarily beautiful city, really, really lovely. But I'm sure you'll get to see all the delights and all the culture when you're out on the lash with the lads.
I'd say so. Yeah.
Are you a lightweight, or do you get the trip well on a stag these days?
I get it well. I'd stay quite firm, probably like a Grand National horse in relation to drinking at the moment. So. What, you just
nurse yourself round on the first circuit and then go for it? I don't even go on stag do's anymore. I just literally can't handle them. I'm just too pathetic for words, yeah. And no one invites me. Steve, what are you doing?
I'll be betting heavily. I think Michael van Gerwen is an absolute certainty for the European Championship in Dortmund. So,
no.
Yeah, I'll be betting heavily on golf and darts.
But responsibly as well, I hope.
Oh, yeah, responsibly, but with passion.
Jolly good. What are we previewing next week, Ian? Steve hasn't got a clue.
Turkish.
With the Turkish Airlines and then the Shriners for Children's Hospital Open.
Lovely stuff. Are you back for that, Ian?
I'll be back, hopefully not too hungover on Wednesday, but yeah, I should be back for that.
Good luck. And Steve, you'll be back with us next week?
Yeah, I'm here all year.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much, chaps. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, if you enjoy the shows, please do rate, review and subscribe wherever you are listening. Football Postcast tomorrow, Racing Postcast on Friday, and if you can't make them, we'll see you back here next Wednesday for some more golf.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and $1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Give them the hole!